Welcome to the Astro Psyche, where we explore depth psychology and astrology. This is your weekly astrology forecast for March 18th through the 24th. And I'm calling this theme for this week, Breaking the Spell of Illusions with Venus-Saturn and the Sun in Aries. So we're going to talk about what's happening this week. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Shawna McGrath. I am a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I'm really excited to share the astrology this week with you from a psychological perspective. So let's start at the beginning. Towards the beginning of the week, we have the sun moving into Aries. And this is happening this year on Tuesday, March 19th. And so this is really important for a couple of different reasons. So of course, the sun is a symbol of our conscious awareness. It is that light of consciousness, light of awareness. And it's shifting our perspective, our focus, month by month, in this case, from the sign of Pisces, which is about feeling into things and exploring our states of consciousness and our sensitivity to things, and getting in an altered state of flow. Even that's the Pisces energy that we've been experiencing for the past month. And it's moving into the sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars, and it's a fire sign and a cardinal sign. So Aries is very much about our self-initiated and self-directed focus and the way in which we move ourselves forward of our own volition. The sun also moving into Aries also marks an important part in the annual sun cycle and the season. So this is the equinox. It will be the spring equinox or the fall equinox, depending on which hemisphere you're in. And so this is a day where we have equal hours of daylight and nighttime. And so there is this this balancing effect, this polarity effect, this sort of moment of being in two places at one time or having an equal consideration of things. So that's a theme this week, this theme of balance, of paradox, of equanimity. Now, the sun itself is also a symbol of vitality, ego strength, shining your essence forward. And it's also a symbol of healing, particularly healing with growth or a sense of purpose or a sense of moving forward with something. And in this case, we also have the sun with the North Node. And we're going to talk more about the eclipse that's coming next week in a moment. And I want to just note that we have the planet that symbolizes our ego, our conscious awareness, that that psychological part of us that is like, okay, I'm going to organize myself around these things that I'm aware of, that I identify with. That is with the North Node, which is a symbol of craving something, trying to move towards something, mastering something. The North Node also has symbolism around change or transition. It can feel like instability. It can feel like impulsivity and even like instincts, I think, especially when we're talking about this being in the sign of Aries. And so we think about the sun with the North Node as a symbol of opening a portal to other possibilities and to change and to transition, that this can happen very rapidly, changes and situations that are coming in and situations that are going out, where there's kind of been this building towards change, especially over the last 6 months. Or even during the last month or so, there can kind of be like a clicking into place where this change can now happen, because we're talking about the nodes and eclipses being an opening for something to click into place, so to speak. So the other part of what's happening this week is we also have Venus conjunct Saturn in Pisces. And so Venus is a symbol of relationships, beauty, aesthetics, how we assign value to things, how we feel value in our own selves. And Saturn is a symbol of commitment, devotion, responsibility, discipline, boundaries, limitations. Saturn's a symbol of structure. And when we have these two come together, we're looking at the structure of our relationships and how we want to, or how we do relate to our commitments and responsibilities and devotions, whether that is in a relationship or more simply the things that we are committed to. And I think especially during this time, it can sort of go different ways. There can be a further deepening of a commitment to something that's very important to us, especially something that we're working towards over a long haul. And it can also be looking at where a commitment or a discipline is like there's something that kind of needs to be reworked. I'm like intentionally avoiding using the word restructure because with Saturn, it's about like, okay, how do we shore things up? How do we strengthen what is happening? And often we identify what needs to be, what needs some attention because there is a feeling of instability or there is a feeling of something not feeling quite as sturdy, secure, safe, etc. And I think that it can also be looking at maybe something has worked for a long time and we realize, oh, like this actually isn't working in the way that I thought it was going to. And I think we can get a lot of fear that comes up with Saturn. That is some of the symbols of Saturn is fear, judgment, guilt, criticism, like inner criticism even. And so we can look at, especially if those kinds of feelings are coming up, if we're starting to feel guilt or shame or resentment around a situation, this is information for us. This is telling us that there is something here, that there is there's a need that isn't being met by the scenario, and that's not, bad, or there's nothing that, I guess what I want to say here is that we can look at the judgment or the feeling of like something is wrong or something is bad here and kind of step back from it and say, okay, is it actually bad or is it actually wrong? Or does it just need to be tweaked a little bit? So those are things that come up with Venus-Saturn. And again, I think that it can also be a deepening into something that is working very well for us. What else do I want to say about that? Yeah, I think Saturn's also connected to agreements and rules and boundaries, and that sometimes it can be really helpful to be more specific about what our agreements are with others, with ourselves. What are our agreements to ourselves? And I think that Venus-Saturn can really be a symbol of breaking the spell of an illusion or an idealization, because it helps us to see like, oh, what is this situation actually based on? Why am I actually doing this? Why do I actually care about this? And if we've been striving for something, Saturn, and it's based on some sort of like not really seeing things clearly, or kind of like misreading or misconstruing, there's an allusion to what it is that we've been working towards, we can kind of step back and say, oh, okay, now I see more clearly. And sometimes that can be disappointing. And it also allows us to be able to move forward in a way that does meet those needs and desires, which is Venus. I also think too that Venus-Saturn can be a symbol of having containment for a relationship, containment for a creative process. Saturn is about boundaries and restrictions, and it is a symbol of a container around something. And so I think this is something to think about as well, do you feel a sense of containment in your life? And if there is stress or anxiety, is it that you need less responsibility, discipline, etc., or is it maybe that there needs to be a sense of containment around things that allows for a sense of freedom, but also a sense of sort of protection of that? I hope that makes sense. When I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about how when we know what a schedule is or what the agreements are in a relationship, that actually helps us to relax a little bit more because we're not having to be like hyper vigilant and reading the signs always, or we're not having to, like in the case of scheduling, figuring out how to moment to moment do our date because we're like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to be doing right now, even if that is open and free time or something that we don't like. It's like we know what needs to be done. And I think that that can be very settling. So the other piece that's happening this week is Mars is moving into Pisces. And so Mars moves into Pisces on Friday, the 22nd. And so this is about exploring the fluctuating nature of boundaries, of separations, of individuation. These are Mars themes. Mars is about fighting for our sense of independence, our sense of individuation, individuality. And I think Mars and Pisces also, there's a drive towards helping, healing, compassion, humanitarian issues. Like Mars and Pisces is sort of like fighting for the ideal. And so I think it can kind of be, might be a little weird paradoxical energy this week where we have Venus Saturn that's like, okay, I'm shedding the ideal, but then Mars and Pisces is like, no, I want to fight for what it is that is actually really important to me, that is the higher vision of something. And so we're having to kind of balance, okay, what is it that we actually need and want? What is practical? What is right now versus future based? And what else did I want to say about? Yeah, okay. Also, so I think too, with Mars and Pisces and Venus Saturn, there is this theme around using your energy wisely. Because Mars is a sense of vitality and initiative. And when it's in Pisces, there can be a tendency to sort of disperse that based on like really wanting to be everywhere all at once and being pulled, being called to many different directions. And our energy is finite and it is precious. And so I think this week it's so important to know what your priorities are, but at a deeper level, sort of like what is it that's going to be really good for you this week, today, in the moment? That feels really important so that it's because when I'm feeling into this, it's less about having like a list of your priorities for the week, though, if that's helpful for you, that's great. It's more about feeling into your body and your psyche right now and asking yourself, what is it that I need right now? What would feel really good to me, and what can I do? What's possible for me to do right now? Because I think sometimes we can get in our head and have a sense of like, okay, this is what I should be doing. This is what my goals are, but sometimes that's contrary to what we actually need in the moment that would help us get into a place of feeling more energized. Okay. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this in a different video, but I did want to mention it because it's happening Monday next week on March 25th. So we will have a full moon lunar eclipse in Libra, exact Monday, March 25th at midnight Pacific time. And so this is happening. So a couple, yeah, my brain is going many different ways here. Okay, so full moon eclipse in Libra. This is happening within the new moon lunar cycle that in Pisces that we just had March 10th. And so this eclipse involves Pisces. It also involves Libra, and it involves Aries because it's on that Aries-Libra axis. And so full moons and lunar eclipses are an energy of culmination, of opening, of receiving, of the things that we've been experiencing. There's kind of like this heightened high point of experience. And this particular lunation is happening at the south node. So there might be a culmination around south node things like surrender, letting go, connecting with something that is greater than yourself, having experiences connecting with the divine, having experiences connecting with your own sensory somatic experience. And I think even there's this sense of culmination around issues that involve Libra in particular, and the challenges that we might have around Libra, as well as the gifts and the benefits. So the South Node in Libra is really about prioritizing the needs of others over oneself. And this is really a lovely quality because it helps us to be inclusive and diplomatic and to look at all sides of possibility, all sides of an argument, to see what needs to be done and to find a sense of cohesion and balance and harmony in a situation. Now, the challenges of the South Node in Libra are that we can sometimes sacrifice our own needs and desires and preferences on behalf of fulfilling those for other people. And this phenomenon of sacrificing your own needs for other people becomes problematic or detrimental when it's done consistently, chronically over a long period of time, because then there starts to become this disconnection from the self. Some people might have a hard time even recognizing what their own preferences or desires actually are. It feels confusing to even try to figure that out. And so, of course, this can happen with folks that have the South Node in Libra or Libra placements. It can happen with many other natal chart configurations. And to some extent, all of us have some of these potentials in us. So with this particular lunar eclipse, we're sort of experiencing I'm thinking about how the full moon is an illumination. When we think about light from the sun as conscious awareness, we become more conscious, sun, of something that has been unconscious, sort of like simmering in the background of our awareness. This is the moon. And so this is illuminating our, our Libra tendencies, whatever those may be, and giving us an opportunity to decide to very rapidly experience what it is that wants to come in, that wants to change in our lives in a way where there's like a new initiation, but also a letting go at the same time. What else did I want to say about this? So this is happening at 5 degrees of Libra, so fairly early in the sign. And this means that it's especially important for folks who have personal points or planets in the early degrees of cardinal signs. So this is Libra, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn. And I think this is also a culmination of change around Pisces issues because of the new moon in Pisces, this being within that cycle. And so Pisces is about psychological healing, hope, renewal, our ability to attune, to regulate, and to absorb sensory experiences and non-ordinary experiences. I think this could also involve, again, those themes of idealization and fantasy as well, which are connected to Pisces. So other themes that I was thinking about this week is yeah, with the sun in Aries and the Libra lunar eclipse, we're really feeling into this Aries-Libra axis. And so this is about experiencing our relationship to themes such as the self versus relationships, being told, not being told, being bold and taking action versus contemplating the options, themes around boundaries, and not just boundaries that we communicate, but also emotional boundaries that we have, as far as feeling a sense of taking on something from someone else, or feeling responsible or overly responsible for people and situations. Themes of cooperation, themes of holding your own needs and wishes, and how you may sacrifice those on behalf of others, and why that may be. Yeah, so okay. Other things, other reflection questions that I was thinking for this week are, how are you directing your limited, precious energy and resources? What makes your hardships worth it? I think this is a very Saturn question, thinking about Venus-Saturn. If you're going through something challenging, how do you quantify or qualify what makes it worth it for you? Are you idealizing a situation, and why might that be? I think it's important to have an open and curious mindset around this. Okay, so I'm going to pull a couple of tarot cards for you to seal this up. And this is a great opportunity, again, to be in your own experience and to ask yourself what you need right now to, in this moment, feel as relaxed and aware as possible. Does it help you to focus on your breathing? Does it help you to move around a little bit? Do you need to like grab a sweater or something that makes you feel comforted? Okay. So So I pulled 3 cards. First card is the Strength card. This is from the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, and in this deck, the Strength card has an image of a lion with a rose in its mouth, and it has an infinity symbol in the center of its forehead. So the Strength card is about inner strength and resilience. It's about facing the things that were we're scared of. And in the original imagery in the Smith-Waite deck, there is a figure that's looking into the mouth of the lion. And so there is something here around facing the thing that is very scary to you. And that doing that is what builds resilience and strength. Now, I think it's really important to identify what to do this in a way that is helpful for you versus a shock to the nervous system or something that's even re-traumatizing in some way. And so I think I'm thinking of the word titrating, like little doses of facing the hard things in a way that for you builds strength, and doing this little bits at a time and really paying attention to the feedback from your body and your psyche on is this meeting a challenge? Is it helping you, or is it too much? I think that this titrating and like little doses, this is not inherent in the Strength card. This is like my just intuitive sense about it at this particular time. So we might come back to that. And the rose, before we leave this card, the rose is a symbol of wisdom and like sort of like really peeling back the layers and getting into the heart of something. So there's like this one little piece at a time into the center of the issue. The second card is the Magician. In this deck, the Magician has a leopard, and the leopard has an infinity symbol in its chest. It looks like the chest, maybe the neck almost. So the Magician is a symbol of potential. It's communication that you have the raw materials that you need to create the thing that you're trying to create. Both the Strength and the Magician are very much about your own personal power and your ability to affect change. And the way that I'm reading this is there is something that it's important here for you to move towards what is maybe a little scary, and that brings in strength to you, and that maybe will reveal the gifts, the resources, the abilities that you have to do the thing that you need to do. Now, these might be inner resources, they might be external resources that you have at your disposal. And then the last card is the Daughter of Pentacles. And the Daughter of Pentacles is equivalent to the Page of Pentacles. On this card, it has an image of a young deer and a rainbow in the back. This card to me is about, it kind of has like a feeling of youthfulness to it. And it's the page, the Daughter, the page is about communicating new information. And it's also about transition, like going somewhere, like moving through something or getting over something or going on a journey, or new information coming to you. And so there is something here around facing what is scary for you, and that reveals like a strong, like you have a lot of potential here to do what it is that you need to do. These cards are very encouraging. They're like, yes, you can do the thing. You are powerful, you are strong, you are capable, and you have the resources that you need. And if you don't feel that you do, I would encourage you to find or ask for what it is that you need and identify that, and that brings new information online, and that brings a sense of um, youthfulness, exuberance, energy, and the ability to move forward or to have like a sense of transition or change. Something is changing when you go through this process. All right. I hope that this was helpful to you. It's always such a pleasure to share these messages with you. Again, my name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer, and I offer depth-oriented psychotherapy and astrology sessions. If you want to find out more about me and my work, you can find that on my website, theastropsyche.com. And I'm wishing you a wonderful week, sending you lots of love, and wishing you a most easeful week going forward. I'll see you soon. Bye.